A pleasant day, everyone. We are from Group 1 and we're here today to present Asian literature. Without further ado, let's jump to the video.
Have you ever had to endure the pain of having red puffy eyes because you stayed up late and cried your heart out to a Korean drama again? When you think about Asian literature, what is the first thing that comes to your mind? Do you think about the webtoon that your favorite K-drama was based on? Or do you perhaps think about the new awesome manga you've been reading that you desperately hope will get adapted into anime?
From ancient poems painted on scrolls and rebellious stories that had to be read in secret lest you to be arrested by the government and branded as a criminal traitor, to openly adored work of art that are published and translated into many languages all over the world. Asian literature has definitely come a long way.
Today, we're going to talk about the many literary pieces from this wonderful continent, their journey and evolution throughout history, and where they are now with regards to the modern genres of 21st century literature. So just sit back, get cozy in your little learning nook right at home, and allow us to bring you to other countries all over Asia. And what better way to commence the lesson than by looking no further than to our own little archipelago.
Our country has been through a lot to get to where it is today, and that is heavily reflected in the evolution of our most beloved literary works. According to Cristobal Zarco of Unipro in an article about Philippine literature, what makes it unique is actually the thing that makes it similar to works from other countries. He is, of course, talking about works that were published in many different languages, mainly Spanish, Tagalog, and English, and how the Filipino writers made these languages their own through sheer talent and force of will in order to conquer those which one sought to make as their conquest.
The first and arguably the most notable one is of course the national hero himself, Dr. Jose Rizal, whose works such as Noli Me Tangere and El Filibusterismo, even today's everyday, still manage to leave an impact on the people and the youth of the country. I'm sure we can all remember the emotional roller coaster we experienced when we had to tackle his works for our Filipino classes back in 9th and 10th grade.
Marcelo H. del Pilar and Graciano Lopez Haina were also important contemporaries who wrote their works in Spanish. Well, at roughly the same time as the era of Edgar Allan Poe, Francisco Balagtas wrote Florante at Laura, the earliest major literary work in Tagalog. Andres Bonifacio, founder of the Katipunan, also wrote in Tagalog, notably the poem Pag-ibig sa Tinubuang Lupa, roughly translated as Love for Native Land.
Some modern authors of the Tagalog language also include Ceres S.C. Alubado, writer of Kangkong 1896, A Look at the Revolution from a Young Boy's Perspective, and Duwalhati Bautista, author of Dekada 70 and Bata Bata Paano Ka Ginawa. These days, Wattpad has taken the country by storm, an app that allows people to showcase their own original works for free and get the chance to be picked up by official publishers, thanks to our notable writers such as Jonami Pacala, Maxine Lad Calibuso, Christine Nalata, Arisa May Domingo, and thousands of other authors. Filipino works continue to inspire and touch the hearts of many people.
Of course, in much of the same fashion as our own country's literature works from all over Asia have also evolved and gained a lot of worldwide notoriety over the years. Chinese literature has retained its reputation by keeping the fundamentals of its identity intact. Poets like Du Fu, The Ballad of the Army Cats, Li Po, Alone and Drinking Under the Moon, and Wang Wei of the Tang Dynasty 618 to 907. The finest era of Chinese literature has produced world-renowned literary works. Chinese writers in modern times are still creative and productive and have kept the Chinese literary tradition prosperous.
Korea's literary tradition is greatly influenced by China's cultural dominance. As early as the 4th century CE, Korean poets wrote literary pieces in classical Chinese poetry, then transformations happened at the 7th century. Hangul, Korean's distinct writing system and national alphabet is developed in the 15th century, which gave new beginnings of Korean literature. In contemporary times, the Korean War has made a significant mark on Korean literature. In 1950, the themes present in the literary works are about alienation, conscience, disintegration, and self-identity.
Japan has a rich and unique literary history, even though it has been influenced by Chinese language and Chinese literature. It has a world-renowned poetic genre called haiku, the diverse forms of theater Noh and kabuki. Japanese literature reflects simple yet complex, imperfect yet abounding with beauty, the traditional Japanese cultural identity. In contemporary times, Western influences take part in the Japanese literature. Playwrights like Abi Kobo and Mishima Yukio are Japan's notable literatists.
Arabic literary tradition has been flourishing in the Middle East. Islam is the foundation of culture in this region. Its literary tradition has grown and influenced others like Persian, Byzantine, and Andalusian traditions. In return, Arabic literature has also been influenced by literary traditions of different countries. In contemporary times, Arabic writers experience difficulties in producing their literary texts due to the issue of freedom of expression and the tension between religious and secular movements.
The literary traditions of Southeast Asia possess and influences by Buddhist, Thai, and English cultures, especially in Burma literature. Malaysian and Indonesian literature reflect a large part of a Sanskrit language and Slam culture. Meanwhile, Central Asian literature has different literary characteristics and political in culture. In contemporary times, Russian influence continues to be present in Central Asia literature. Some of the Central Asian writers and their literary works paved their way to be known worldwide.
To this day, Asian literature continues to grow and flourish even under the many genera of 21st century literature. Manga, illustrated novels, and graphic novels are major favorites among the masses. Some of the most notable ones are: in manga, we have Gege Akutami's Jujutsu Kaisen and Koyoharo Gotoge's Demon Slayer. Meanwhile, in Webtoons Corner, we have Yang Yi's True Beauty, Kim Carnby's Sweet Home, and Ban Ji-won's Dear Ex. Lastly, graphic novel consists of Budget Tan and Cayo Baldisimo's 13, and Mike Alcazaren, Noel Pascual, and AJ Bernardo's Patay Kung Patay.
Fantasy and science fiction novels from Chinese authors have also been snagging the #1 New York Times bestseller spot, the most notorious ones being Shiran Jay Zhao's Iron Widow, a glorious sci-fi mecha reimagining of China's only female emperor, and Chloe Gong's These Violent Delights, a Romeo and Juliet retelling set in 1920s Shanghai. Between those achievements and the many other rising and notable Asian literary works out there, we can surely express how lucky we are to be alive right now, and to be able to experience all of these rich creations in real time.
Again, this is Group 1. Thanks for watching. Adios, be safe, and God bless.